Welcome to my Week 3 multimedia presentation. This is Georgina Villasenor, and we are now in the New Deal mid-century theorists about 1930s to 1950s. So welcome to my presentation. Here's an overview of my presentation. I will be going over Luther Gulick's theory. He came out with this theory in about the 1930s. I will be analyzing the theory, comparing strengths and weaknesses, and also providing a modern day example. So Gulick's theory, he really emphasizes the importance of division of work, and this is something that we've seen in previous theories with Henri Fayol, with Weber, and also with Taylor when it comes to efficiency. So he stresses the importance of recognizing that employees or humans by nature are specialized. They are good at specific things. And so he acknowledges that when it comes to division of work, there also becomes a need to coordinate the work. And so you need one and the other in order to have an effective organization. Within that, he also touches on span of control, how supervisors and managers should be limited in the number of employees that they're controlling or supervising. He goes on to talk about unity of command and how it's important that employees or subordinates only report to one person. And so I'll be touching a little bit on that in my modern day example as well. And then he also goes on to talk about hierarchy, the importance to recognize the top-down approach as well as the lateral approach. Top-down recognizing who's in the chain of command, both from the top and then also from the bottom up, so employees understanding who they report to. And then also the lateral approach in terms of the importance of having some homogeneous activity consistency throughout the organization. And what he's ultimately known for is for this POSCORB acronym, which relates to the role of, or the duties of an executive or a manager. And so very relevant today and very helpful when it comes, especially when it comes to a new manager. So here, this is a brief summary in terms of what Gulick's theory discusses. So in analyzing Gulick's theory, I was able to identify strengths and weaknesses. I'm a person that really likes structure, and so I found that he lays a really good foundation for organizational structure. And I like that he acknowledges there are variables and limits that might affect certain aspects, such as when dealing with the coordination of work, size and time might be limiting factors. Simple versus complex situations, stable organizations versus changing organizations, and I'll touch on that in my modern day example. I also believe that the POSCORB acronym is a really good roadmap, especially for new managers, really identifying what their duties are. I think this concept has evolved over time. I think the larger the organization, the more a manager or an organization will be subdividing those duties. I think we see more of that with our larger organizations. When it comes to weaknesses, I believe that although there is a lot of structure within his theory, I don't know if it necessarily considers all variables. So what happens when things don't go as planned? There's a big emphasis on planning and organizing work, but it doesn't deal with these situations when things don't go as planned. I also believe that the whole unity of command concept is something that is not necessarily true nowadays, especially in your larger organizations. I think we see more of a dual reporting structure at times. and I will also touch on that in my modern day example. And I also believe that his theory lacks the interpersonal aspect. So we're dealing with human beings here. As someone who works in human resources, I think it's important to also touch on the interpersonal aspect of being a manager. So I felt that that was a weakness in his theory. So Gulick's theory can be seen in a present-day situation where I currently work. Riverside Community College District is an umbrella over 3 colleges. And back in 1960, and for some time, it was only known as Riverside Community College with some satellite campuses. Today, we now see 3 independent colleges under the district. And so you can imagine that each college is quite unique in their demands and their needs. And so they are structured a bit differently. They're not necessarily consistent across the board. I've been with the district about 4 years, and I've seen 3 chancellors during that time. And so to kind of corroborate what Gulick has said in terms of these variables when it comes to coordination of work, when we have a new chancellor come in and reorganizes the district, it's rather complex at times. We also see this on an ongoing basis when it comes to different funding coming in, the need for more division of work or coordination of work is heavily dependent upon assistance from our department in human resources. And so what we also see when it comes to these 3 independent colleges and the district, the relationship there, we see a lot of dual reporting structure as well. Specifically, in our department, we have human resources representatives at the colleges who not only report to the college vice president, but also back to the district human resources department. So this is a great example, I thought, of how Gulick's theory still applies today and some of the variables that we might see. And lastly, the reference used in this presentation is the Classics of Public Administration book. Thank you for viewing my presentation, and I hope you have a good rest of your week.